Hi and welcome to my channel. I'm Mark on RC-Nerd74. In today's video I like to go through the latest modifications on my Joysway Rocket 26 brushless, and the most important part of the video, I like to show you some test runs at the end of the video using the Dynamite Marine Grease, which is environmentally friendly solution to grease your flex shaft. And I just wanted to do some test runs to compare my ball bearing oil I used before, to compare the speed of both solutions, if the oil or the grease makes the boat faster or if both lead to the same speed. So let's jump right into the latest mods and have a closer look. Before I did the latest modifications on my Joysway Rocket, I ripped off my steering servo on a speed run. When the boat flipped over, there was too much force on the rudder and the servo ripped off from the hull. The servo was glued with UPOR, and this speed run, or that flip over, that crash, showed that UPOR is not strong enough to keep the servo in place in the hull. If you have such high speeds between 70 and 80 kilometers per hour and you rip off the servo from your hull. At the same time, also the gears of the servo were damaged, so I also had to replace the cheap stock servo with a stronger high-tech servo with metal gear and double ball bearing, and glued the servo into the hull with 10 minutes epoxy instead of the UPOR. So to prepare the hull and the servo for installing, I had to clean up the UPOR remains from the hull, remove the old servo, then sanded all the areas on the hull and on the servo to get maximum grip for the 10-minute epoxy. Then put it on the 10-minute epoxy on the hull and on the servo, and put the servo into the hull. The servo installed like this looks pretty strong, and the first test runs were without any issues. So I think the mount with 10 minutes epoxy is perfectly good for this speed and this size and the weight of the boat. Another small modification I did is a small foam part I installed in the battery compartment. This is just to avoid moving around of the LiPo battery. Like this, my 4S 1800 LiPos fit perfectly into the compartment, and if the battery cannot move around, you avoid to change your CG of the boat. So like this, I have always the perfect same CG, also when the boat flips over and there come strong forces on the battery, but the battery still keeps in place like this. For further improvement of the CG, I added some weight in the back end of the hull. Currently I have around 30 grams of weight at the back end of the hull. Like this, I'm at around 31 to 32% from the back end of the hull with my CG, and with speeds around 75 to 80 kilometers an hour, that CG works perfect. So you can go easy full throttle just without any waves. If you have small waves, you really have to be careful, because the boat really quickly flips over on little waves. Then I got the Dynamite Marine Grease, which is really a great solution to grease your flex shaft. I wanted to change to this grease in the first place because this grease solution is environmental friendly in comparison to the bearing oil I used in the past. So it really makes sense, and I highly recommend to use this marine grease or something similar which has the same effect to the environment. And for me it was really interesting to do some test runs to compare the speed with the bearing oil and the marine grease to see which solution is faster. And I was pretty surprised because the marine grease is not liquid at all, so I expected to be slower with the Dynamite Marine Grease, but in the end the speed was pretty exactly the same. The top speed I reached so far with bearing oil was 76 kilometers an hour, and with the marine grease the first test was 75 kilometers an hour. That's a pretty great result for a first test. More test runs with more modifications on the boat will come, but with this 75 kilometers an hour with the marine grease, I'm pretty happy. So enough talking now, let's jump right into the speedrun footage. Thanks a lot for watching, have a good time, see you in the next one, bye bye.
Ja, dat is power erin, hè?
Ja, ja.
Wahnsinn. Wahnsinn.
Ja, aber ja. Dann haben die kleinen Wellen, dann kommt es aber nicht mehr so gut. Ja, ja. Voilà, jetzt haben wir ihn eben. He. Dann wollte ich sein. Zügel voll laufen. Ja, nein.